the gun club in a bad way. We got the match in the bag cause it's trash day. No filter, I ain't Instagram. We make the ass boys retire like Vince McMahon. We'll beat you down and you know the rest. I'm more positive than Joe Biden's COVID test. Yo, you're your dash boys, but for now, y'all are just the ass boys.
Max Caster has wrestled for AEW for over 7 years, and unfortunately, his contract is coming up in October. There have been many rumors on the internet that he is not planning on re-signing. Personally, I don't blame him, because he hasn't been on television since AEW All In Texas in July 2025, where he participated in the Casino Gauntlet match, a match where the winner gets an AEW championship opportunity. He was only there as a joke entry, and maybe to feel like he was being celebrated, because he appeared on the biggest show of the year, even if it was in a very mediocre role. It's never good for any wrestler to go years without being on television, or to only show up once every few years when they're on a long-term contract. At one point, Max Caster was one of the most over wrestlers, if not the most over wrestler, on the AEW roster. What makes this really painful for me is that the first professional wrestling event I ever went to was AEW Grand Slam at Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York City. And like the majority of everyone in that arena, I wanted to see Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, the Acclaimed, become the tag team champions.
Yeah, so, guys, I'm MJF speaking, so I gotta, make it quick, but, this meant a lot to me, so I'm happy that the Acclaim won, a team that's LGBTQ, a team that represents hard work and, not just WWE people winning, so, it means a lot to me that this fucking happened. One of the best moments of my life, a year ago today, I was in the Arizona deserts, taking a trip around America, but now I got to see this, so... This is my moment. This was a moment for me as well, but, not me being narcissistic, but congratulations to the Acclaim, and just to show anybody that hard work, it doesn't matter that we live in a very bigoted world, you work hard, you dedicate yourself, you have the right patience, you work hard towards the goal, keep your head straight, shit like that happens, so.
For me, that started a journey of going to over 50 AEW shows, and after I go to Wembley Stadium for AEW All In 2026, I will be the first fan in history to attend an entire calendar year of AEW pay-per-views, since I've consistently gone to every one since All Out 2025 last September in Toronto. I think a significant part of this essay is really about how much Max Caster has meant to this company, and to a lot of fans, and how sad it is that he's been on a career downfall and may not continue with AEW. Max Caster and Anthony Bowens were thrown together as a tag team called The Acclaimed, and they started getting matches on AEW Dark and a couple of other programs. This was during a time when AEW was experimenting with different people, and it was also when the company emphasized wrestlers with characters and gimmicks, unlike nowadays, where they overly emphasize people who can have a Dave Meltzer type of match. Somebody with amazing athletic ability who does a lot of flips, hits a lot of finishers, throws their body around, and keeps going for 30 or 40 minutes, usually a little longer than the match needs to be. That matters more to AEW nowadays than a wrestler with great mic skills. So what happened was that Max Caster started doing raps, and it got him attention, even though a lot of fans criticized him for being a John Cena copycat. It's also fair to mention that there were many rumors online that Anthony Bowens was gay, and he faced a lot of homophobia. Sometimes fans would throw slurs at him. Over time, because they were a heel tag team, Max did more and more controversial raps, and this is when he really started to captivate the audience. It was captivating, because WWE had been TV PG for such a long time that most wrestlers weren't allowed to cut promos disrespecting celebrities or politicians, or referencing current wrestlers and their backstage controversies. That's what separated Max Caster from a WWE wrestler. His raps proved that AEW was TV-14 and was supposed to be edgy. There were many matches with multiple tag teams facing each other, where people would say the only thing you got out of it was a Max Caster diss rap.
The Acclaim kicking ass for miles, make you claim mental health like Simone Biles. The side gal's gonna pay the cost. I'ma treat those bitches like Duke Lacrosse. The blondes say they the best, but those dudes are faker than a PCR test. And what's that smell here in North Carolina? Oh, wait, that's Julia's. Oh! A PCR test. And what's that smell here in North Carolina? Oh, wait, that's Julia's. Oh!
The biggest controversial rap came when he appeared on AEW Dark and did a rap referencing Duke Lacrosse, Simone Biles' mental health issues, before asking, "What's that smell in North Carolina?" and getting cut off right before saying, "Julia Hart's vagina." In response, he was suspended for a month and had to take sensitivity classes. He made some posts on Twitter about wanting to quit the company and about the hypocrisy of it all, since his character was supposed to be somebody doing heel raps. Many fans saw both sides of this. He was being politically incorrect during a time when that could get a wrestler or a television show cancelled. While a lot of other people feel society is way too sensitive and looked at his actions as heroic, and they bring up that same argument. Shouldn't it be okay, since AEW is supposed to be TV-14? After he returned, he made a lot more raps that were even edgier, but that also made the audience laugh. Both he and Anthony Bowens made major improvements as wrestlers, even though it was still very clear they had a lot to improve on. Their breakthrough match was at AEW All Out 2022 against Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee, and a lot of people felt the biggest controversy of that match was that the Acclaimed did not win. They were so over with the audience, and most professional wrestling companies would improvise and put the titles on the most over team when they're getting that type of reaction, rather than keeping them on the champions and having those champions get booed because the team the crowd wants doesn't win. The peak at AEW Grand Slam 2022, they won the titles. This was a big moment for AEW, because it signaled that the company favored homegrown talent. This wasn't like TNA Wrestling, a company that would overly push championships onto former WWE people instead of their own talent. The other thing was that because Anthony Bowens had come out as gay online, this was the first time an openly gay wrestler in AEW had won a title. Anthony Bowens coming out of the closet was very significant, because many times it was career suicide for a wrestler to come out as gay. People forget that Nyla Rose was the first women's champion to be transsexual, and that also happened in AEW. Both of these human beings, and AEW was getting a lot of support from the LGBTQ community, and a lot of fans for making moves against homophobia.
I don't know if you can see my gear here, lady. I'm gay.
Andy's taken.
Yes. Crowd loves it.
How are you going to fare against the bizarre nature of Goldust? Well, you know, it seems our sissy friend is having a little identity crisis. First he was Dustin Runnels, then he was Goldust, and now he wants to be the king of the ring. Well, we all saw you out here with tears running down your face, wondering why your old man, Old Dust, don't love you anymore. Well, I know Dusty Rhodes, and he told me why. It's because you married the biggest gold digger in Georgia, then you put on a woman's wig, and you went around the ring kissing men like a flaming fag. Well, let me tell you something. They're gonna all have...
They held the tag team championships until February 2023, when they lost them to the Ass Boys. I believe part of the reason was that the Ass Boys were the children of Billy Gunn, so there was a nepotism card at play. The other big thing I felt was that the Acclaimed were becoming secondary, because AEW started emphasizing tag teams like FTR and the Young Bucks, who were more athletic, instead of emphasizing wrestlers who were good on the microphone. On top of that, AEW kept hiring a lot of people from New Japan Pro Wrestling, because so many wrestlers in that promotion were great athletic performers. After that, the big story for the Acclaimed was that they became a trio with Billy Gunn. And a lot of people would say this revitalized Billy Gunn's career. For a while, they had a feud with House of Black, and because the Acclaimed kept losing, Billy Gunn was always getting pinned easily. They teased Billy possibly retiring, since he was close to 60 years old. But eventually, they won the Trios titles at Wembley Stadium in 2023, in front of over 70,000 people, at one of the largest professional wrestling events ever. Again, this was big for Anthony Bowens, because he might have been the first openly gay wrestler to win a championship, and perform at Wembley Stadium. After that, they eventually lost the Trios titles, and there were gaps where they didn't appear on television at all. On television, Anthony Bowens came close to beating Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor Championship, but Max Caster accidentally cost him the match. Eventually, they started fighting each other on television, and this led to the end of the Acclaimed. This was definitely a huge blow, because they were one of the best tag teams, and they had the right characters and gimmick, so it felt very anticlimactic. After that, Anthony Bowens did not appear on television for a very long time. Max went on TV with a new gimmick as the best wrestler alive, where he would clap his hands and chant, "Let's go Max, you are the best wrestler alive." And he never won a match. He was easily defeated every time. This new gimmick was very hurtful to me, because you were really just watching a wrestler do a bunch of stupid comedy, and it felt like he had no problem losing to people every single week. What made it even more stupid was that they had Anthony Bowens be a surprise opponent for him. At AEW Dynasty 2025, regarded as one of the worst AEW pay-per-views, Max was talking about being the best wrestler alive and calling out a mystery opponent. You heard very epic music, and it felt like a debuting wrestler, but it turned out to be Anthony Bowens, and he easily beat Max. There were many problems with this match. First of all, it was on the pre-show, not the main card, so obviously a lot of people did not see it. It would have made a lot more sense to put this match on the main show at a significant moment to make Anthony Bowens stand out. The next issue is that it was a burial of Max. Not only was he losing every match, now he was losing to his former tag team partner with no real story behind it, and with no credibility that he could ever beat him because he's always losing. On the other side, it also makes Anthony Bowens look bad, because how strong do you look beating somebody in a couple of minutes when that person is already on a severe losing streak? The other problem is that Anthony Bowens came out with Billy Gunn, so it really felt like Anthony couldn't get over on his own. A couple of months after this, Max was not on television at all, until AEW All in Texas, where he was in the Casino Gauntlet match. This also looked very stupid, because why would he be in a Casino Gauntlet match where the winner gets an opportunity at the AEW Championship? It makes sense to have credible people in that match, not a joke wrestler. Before I forget, the other thing that happened before the Acclaimed broke up was that Max Caster was sexually harassing MJF. There was something there where he was trying to come off like a predatory gay man, or a predatory metrosexual. It was definitely very cringe, because Anthony Bowens comes out of the closet as a gay wrestler, and then you have Max being completely counterproductive to that. The last big thing the Acclaimed ever did was participate in the Blood and Guts match in Nashville, Tennessee in 2024. I've talked about how that was the worst moment of my life as a professional wrestling fan, because my flight got delayed, and I had a front row seat, and I wasn't able to see it. In my opinion, that's the last moment when the Acclaimed ever mattered. So here we are in August 2026, and there are a lot of stories about Max leaving the company. It really comes down to a couple of issues. I do agree with many people that a gimmick built on somebody doing controversial raps eventually becomes repetitive. The other thing is that people are very sensitive nowadays. So what happens if Max makes a rap that offends somebody backstage? That usually leads to locker room drama. Maybe some wrestlers won't perform until they get an apology, or until they're promised they'll never have to work with him again. So he might have been told to retire the rapper gimmick because of the high chance of offending people. It's definitely true that he was put on the back burner, because he's not known for being a wrestler like Commander, somebody with a smaller body doing a bunch of athletic feats. That further showed that Max didn't fit the AEW mold anymore. There could also be laziness on both sides. It's easy for Tony Khan to rely on the same wrestlers week after week instead of building new stars. And there are many wrestlers like Britt Baker, Adam Cole, and Keith Lee who haven't appeared on television in years. That could be Tony having nothing for them to do, or it could be that he isn't organizing his 3 programs, Dynamite, Collision, and Ring of Honor, in a way where certain wrestlers stand out on each show instead of crossing everybody over onto all of them. There could also be laziness on Max's end, where he isn't self-advocating, and he may be fine with not being on television for a year and a half, while he's still collecting a downside payment. And the other issue is that both Anthony Bowens and Max feel that the Acclaimed is a tag team that has run its course, even though they are way stronger together. What makes the downfall of Max Caster tragic isn't that he failed. It's that we never actually found out what he could have been. This is a wrestler who was, at one point, one of the most over acts in the entire company. He got there without a New Japan resume, without a WWE run, and without being the guy who does 40 minutes of flips. He got there because he had a character, he had a hook, and he had a crowd that wanted to hear what he was going to say next. He main evented in people's hearts before he ever main evented a card. He won tag team gold at Grand Slam. He won trios gold at Wembley Stadium in front of over 70,000 people. And he was one half of a team that made an entire arena, including me, at my very first wrestling show, stand up and want something. And then he was a punchline, losing on a pre-show. And then he wasn't on television at all. That's the tragedy. Not that he was buried in one match, but that he was underutilized for years by a company that had already proven he worked. AEW found a homegrown star, got him over as much as anybody on the roster, and then slowly stopped having any use for him because the priorities of the company changed around him. He didn't get worse, the mold just changed shape, and nobody bothered to see if he could fit into a new one. And that's what leaves us with so many unanswered questions. What does a singles run for Max Caster actually look like if he's given a real story instead of a comedy gimmick? What happens if the Acclaimed break up with a genuine, well-built feud, a real blow-off match on a main card, in front of a crowd that cares, instead of 2 minutes on a pre-show? What does the rap gimmick evolve into if the company works with it, instead of getting nervous about it? What does he look like as a babyface veteran, or as a manager, or as the guy who elevates the next homegrown act, the way Billy Gunn elevated him? Was he ever actually told to stop, or did he stop being asked? And if his contract really does run out in October, does anybody in that building notice? We don't have answers to any of that, and if he walks, we may never get them. That's what makes this different from a wrestler who simply ran out of steam. Max Caster didn't get a finish, he got a fade out. And as somebody who has been to over 50 AEW shows, and who is about to be the first fan in history to attend an entire calendar year of AEW pay-per-views, I can tell you that the crowd never turned on Max Caster. The crowd would still pop for that entrance tomorrow. The company just stopped asking them to.